might have to go out and go back again.
We're live.
We're live.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to uh, Let's Talk Conversations with Yolanda and my guest, Rosalind Thomas. We have had a couple of technical glitches. So, if you could let us know in the comments that this picture is coming up clear or not, because on my end it looks a little delayed. So I just want to make sure that you can hear us. Okay, I'll try to pull up the Facebook on my phone as well so that I can take a look to see what it looks like. But for those of you that may know me, this will be a reintroduction. Those that do not know me, I will introduce myself for the first time, but I do want to know if you can hear me okay. Rather, am I clear on your end? Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
I can. Can
So
you
we
hear
might
me?
have,
Okay.
now I can.
Okay. I was muted. So
Oh, okay. 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 Social media family, let me know what it looks like. I'm on my Facebook page trying to see what it looks like. Okay. And you can put your comments and I can watch it from my Facebook Live. But tonight, Brock, did you want to introduce yourself or reintroduce yourself to our social media
yes,
family?
yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Rosalind, and I appreciate being your guest again. Mental health counselor. So I appreciate this time of having talked about mental health.
Yes, and I know this is, we can talk more than 1 month. Roz has been graciously flowing with me for the month of November for mental health and wellness. I am Yolanda Garner, married to Stephen Garner, mother of five, grandmother of two. We are senior leaders at River Chicago Ministries, and you can always follow our page for more information about the ministry in itself. But one of my passions is to have these type of conversations and to bring things to the forefront and not feel as if you are walking through certain things alone. And I've known Rosalind or Roz for many years, and our ministry have had the privilege of gleaning from her wisdom when it comes to mental health and wellness. And I really wanted to introduce my social media family to her, I guess, ministry or and slash a business. This is her profession as well. But when you receive information that just ministers to your soul, I think it would behoove us to share it with the entire world. So we're going to jump right in and continue the conversation on mental wellness. We're talking about how to navigate through the holidays when you're experiencing grief. Both of us have experienced grief, and Rod so eloquently laid out that loss is just not the loss of an individual, but it can encompass a loss of so many other things. But tonight, I wanted her to elaborate on escapism, what it is, what it looks like, and because my original thought before talking to her right before we came on was like, that's not something that you should kind of run away from it. You should deal with it so that those type of emotions don't come to the surface again. But after hearing her talk about it, it's okay. It's okay for those emotions to come up, and she will give us some insight on how to what to do when those emotions come up.
Mm. The last part I didn't hear.
Okay, it didn't come through.
No, the last part.
Oh, the escapism
No,
part.
it's yeah.
Okay, elaborate on that. And
No. Okay.
right, and because my original thought was escapism is something that something you should not be feeling when you're dealing with the loss of something. But having the conversation with Roz right before we came on, it's okay to feel those emotions. And then I believe that she will give us some direction on how we could, um, uh, just handle those emotions when they come to the surface.
Okay. I don't know why at the very end it goes out, but I get the gist of it.
Okay.
Um, a lot of pressure, huh?
Sorry about that. the, the
A
tech,
lot of
the sound, I don't know what's going on.
Okay, so as Prof. Yolanda shared in terms of escapism, and I was sharing with her, I don't necessarily believe that escapism is negative, a negative coping skill or a negative defense mechanism, because essentially that's what it is. And so I wanted to read the American Psychological Association and their definition of escapism, and it's a tendency to escape from the real world to the safety and comfort of a fantasy world. And so I'm escaping the real world and I'm coming to something that's comfortable and that's fantasy so that I can mentally survive. Essentially, it's being able to continue to go on. I do know that along with reading and along with my own personal journey, these are some of the things that I've come to understand. So how I feel in regard to escapism. I know everyone might not agree with that, but like I shared with you earlier, I don't necessarily believe that escapism is a negative thing, because in looking up escapism and some of the ways that people escape, and I know we're specifically talking about grief, but some of the ways that people used to escape in their daily lives, because you're dealing with the stressors of every day. So then you some of those are similar to coping strategies that we've talked about the last 4 weeks. Some reading, meditation, exercising, binge watching television. That was one of them, and I know I shared with you my own personal story. I did binge watch a television show for a lengthy amount of time, and it helped me. It was a comedy, and it's something that in the moment I'll say that it did help me. So that's why I say that I don't feel as if escapism as a form of coping is negative in that sense, because it's part of some of the strategies are similar to how we cope daily. It's similar to, I can't take this right now. I just need a break. I need to lose myself in the television, no matter what it is, either the noise or let me lose myself in some book. It's a lot of different things that we can use on a daily to escape, and then use those same things during our grieving process. Did you, and did you have something you want to say before I continue?
Oh no, 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 no. I'm just I'm doing a duo watch here. The phone is real time, but my computer.
Okay.
In case you see, in case you got the so my social media family see my eyes going in different directions, it's because the screen is showing me one thing, but my phone is real time. But we're flowing.
Okay. Okay, just making sure. Okay, so some other, and I know we shared over the past 4 weeks,
Yeah,
just finding out what you enjoy and what encourages you in that moment. And
yeah,
some things that are listed as escapist strategies: dancing,
yeah.
gardening, um, music. Music is an awesome, awesome therapeutic tool. And it's something that you can get lost in, whether it's the words that you're listening to that you're lost in, or the sound that's vibrating through you that you're lost in the movement of that, which can lead to a dance. And next thing you know, you don't usually dance, but you're dancing around your house. So it's it's different ways, that we do escape during that journey. And I'll share a little bit for myself. As I shared, one of the ways that I tried to cope or escape was through binge watching television.
Okay.
Um, and like I said, it was a lengthy amount of time.
Hmm.
There are healthy ways to escape, like we said before,
Yeah.
and there are not so healthy ways to escape. And
Okay.
so I think it's important that we lean into those healthy ways to escape, as opposed to finding alternative ways that's causing us to escape and that we're possibly losing ourselves in. So I think it's important as an individual to find what works best for you in a healthy way that can help you through that journey of grieving.
That's good. And I like what you said about, I like everything that you said about the different coping mechanisms because sometimes um, when you're in it, you may feel as if, okay, am I okay, to be doing this type of thing? I was sharing with you something that I was doing, but didn't realize that that could be a form of escapism, just making a connection with someone else who was experiencing grief. And I'm like, wait a minute, is it okay to do that? Because it's like your mind is, I think it wants to protect you from doing something that is not being quote unquote the usual. I don't want to say normal, but the usual, because that's not something I would usually
Mhm.
do. So it's like, everything okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Am I all right? I know we're laughing, but it's so serious. I'm like,
Yeah,
wait
absolutely.
a minute.
Absolutely. And it is okay. Like I said, it's positive ways, but we usually look for ways to escape when we're feeling persistent feelings of depression or just general sadness. And we need mental respite. We need a break. And so
I
we're
like
looking for forms of escape. We're looking for things to distract us. We're looking for things that we can do that'll put off having to think about our reality, having to
mm,
think or do what we need to do in real time. So it goes from I'm not in reality anymore. I'm
yeah,
escaping to this fantasy world that makes me feel good. It
yeah,
makes me feel like I can breathe. It for just a moment, a split second, I'm
hmm,
not in this reality that's making me feel like I might not make it.
right, right.
Hmm. So,
So true, so true. And I know you said that there was a certain length of time that you
mhm.
experienced your form of escapism. So what happened that stopped it? Can you recall, like, or and I know you probably, I think I already know the answer to this question. When I'm going to say, how long is too long? And sometimes when you're in it, you don't realize what you're doing as
Mhm.
well. So, which leads me to, I have so many questions. Like, if you know that someone has experienced grief, a loss of something, should you check in on them on a consistent basis? Um, do you think if someone would have like reached out to you and say, "Hey, how you doing today?" Do you think it would not have gone on for a year and a half, or how? Do you think that would have mattered if someone is like checking in, or just checking in and just reminding you that come, let's go somewhere, let's go take a drive, let's go to the movies, let's go to dinner, or would you have said, "I ain't going nowhere," leave me alone?
See, for me personally, I may have been receptive to it. I
Okay,
can't say. There are times when I know I would not have been receptive to it, but I
okay,
think there might have been times where I would have been receptive.
okay.
That was binge watching television for that amount of time. That was one form of escapism. It wasn't. It was not my only one, but that was just one form that probably lasted the longest.
Okay.
So I can't say right now I think it would have been 50-50. I think I would have been receptive at times, and then other times it probably would have been a chore to even talk to me. So
Mm, okay.
um so yeah, and I think in general you mentioned you might know the answer to this question.
Right.
So
Everyone
I
experiences.
chuckle
Yeah.
because it is so unique.
Yeah. Yeah. I
It
know that's
is so unique.
you come. You say everybody's experience, because I can't say, okay, it took you a year. It may take take me 2 years. Like, because you don't know what you're doing until you may have a conversation with someone
Mhm,
else that, okay, this is a coping mechanism. Because
mhm,
I didn't know how to give you know how to explain what it was. I'm like, well, okay, yeah,
Mhm.
it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, if somebody was or is in your life to say, okay, you're sitting in this moment too long, let me help you um, come up out of that. So I think my personal opinion, I think it's just important for those that know what you're going through to don't
Being sensitive.
leave you alone.
Mhm.
Even though we may be
Mhm.
giving off those vibes, don't mess with me, or to give you your space. I'm not saying that because sometimes that can be irritating if you're
Mhm.
trying to invade a person's personal space and
Mhm.
they don't want you in their space, but don't stop. Of
Right.
course, be led.
Mhm.
With addressing them,
Mhm.
for someone like us who have gone through that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I always wonder,
Yeah.
do you
I
leave
think it's
them alone, give them their time, their space?
mhm. I didn't hear the last part, but I think being sensitive
Okay,
to the individual um, is very important.
okay,
'Cause, and talking about just different scenarios, just being sensitive to an individual to know when I can invade your space, when it's absolutely necessary to
okay.
invade your space, or when I need to give you that time to be alone. Because I mean, that's important as well, being alone. And I know some people use that. It's a balance. That's the word that I'm looking for. It's a balance, even in escapism, and it's a balance in everything that we do. And so I believe that in certain things, in this grieving process and in this escapism, if I'm escaping into something
Mm,
because I'm just so sad because I just can't handle it right now and I need a break, where
mm,
there should maybe be a limit to that, right? Um, Balance to it. And so those around you can be sensitive enough to know, uh-oh, she's going a little bit too far. She's going a little bit too deep. Maybe is this the time to intervene? And
okay,
then the individual can let you know, nope, this is not the time.
okay. Yep.
Yes, this is the time. So it's about being sensitive and having that relationship with that person to be able to come to that person, approach that person, and then for the person to be able to say, yeah, nope, not right now.
Yeah.
Sure, right now.
Mhm.
So it's just, I think it's a sensitivity matter.
Yeah, it really is. It
Mhm.
really is. I had another thought, but I don't know if this kind of correlates with what we're talking about or not. So maybe I'll save that for the next time that you're on. But yeah, escapism is a real thing, and we as believers we know how we navigate through grief, through mourning, and
Mhm.
I remember even, and I know this is out of love, of course, when people say, I'm going to give you a certain amount of time, and then, right now, and I'm like, and I was trying to go at their pace. I remember that vividly, trying to hurry up and be
Okay.
okay because, I believe in, the power of God, the word of God. You know, I, I know what the word says. So let
Yes.
me hurry up and get past this. But
Mhm.
I know your infamous statement, move at your own pace, but don't stay there. Now, this is me adding that.
Mhm.
Don't stay there. Every person's experience is unique. So, can you
Mhm.
speak to that? Because you are a believer as well,
Mhm.
and because of your expertise with your job, how do we combine those, or how do we cause those to work together? Because I know when you're a believer, you can't like just remove your faith and your meditation time with the Lord and the power of the Word of God. So how do you um, not allow other people to over spiritualize things and try to get you to be where they are, and just the pressure that can sometimes bring. This was in the beginning, when I first experienced the loss, and some seasoned saints, I would say, no disrespect to anyone,
Mhm.
but if they see them mature, like older saints,
Yes.
and would be like, okay. 30 days. And I'm like, okay, so I'm counting down the days and I'm trying to make
Mhm.
sure that I'm moving at that pace, but um, didn't move at that pace.
So earlier in our conversation, you asked me after that certain amount of time,
Yeah,
what changed, like what got me up, what kind of
yeah,
got me out of that form of escapism.
yeah,
And shifting and speaking about us being believers, I can honestly say that it was God,
yeah,
whether he was instrumental in sending someone to call me, sending someone to my home, whether
mhm,
he was instrumental in speaking to me. I believe that that's what broke that fantasy world that I was in, and I was able to come out of it.
yeah,
Uh, and so, like I said, in speaking about and being a believer, again, your own pace, but
yeah,
because you are a believer, God's got you.
yeah,
And God can send somebody either through speaking through you, someone else, no matter what the situation can be, is an opportunity for God to approach you
mm,
and give you that opportunity to come out of it. Now, that is my experience personally, where I was in it, and gosh, that Helen Baylor song, I forget the name of it, but it was like enough is enough for me. And
mm,
that's how my experience was, I'll say. And so, in general, speaking in general, I do think God in general, whether you're a believer or a non-believer, can send somebody
yeah,
something that can break that escapism if it's to that point where you're drowning and you need help. You
mm,
know, that's my thought process on it.
mm,
Um, I just, and again, no disrespect, I just don't think it's a time frame or a time limit to anyone's grief,
yeah,
because then we start focusing on the time
mhm,
and the amount of days. And then you get to the 30th day, and then there's gross disappointment because I still feel the same.
right,
Because for me, I'll say it's a possibility that I'm not thinking about healing or grieving, but I'm thinking about, for me, it'll be 20 more days, 15 days. I'm going to feel the best I've ever felt. 10
mm,
days, I'm going to feel so much better from this grief.
right,
5 days. And then after that 30th day, then it's frustration, it's
right,
disappointment, it's anger. You're still in the grieving process. Now you got all this going on because I'm not where I want to be.
right,
And I can relate to and understand the desire to hurry and be out of that grief. I know when I first lost my mother, one of the first things I said was, I cannot wait to be 5 years removed so I
mm,
do not
mm,
feel the pain
oh,
that I feel right now. It was unbearable. The worst pain I have ever felt in my life,
yeah,
unbearable. And so I wanted to hurry up and get out of that because I couldn't handle it in that moment. I didn't think I could handle it, but I'm still here, so of course I
mhm,
handled it.
oh,
But
yes,
at just in that moment, I wanted to be so far past it. I needed to be away from that intense pain. So
mm, that's
that's
so good.
my response.
That's good. And so, and that even brings up another question or comment, that I had, however it comes out when we want to give our advice, our opinions about how someone should um, be dealing with grief. And one of the things that I see when someone they'll post something on social media, and people have the right to say whatever they want to say, but when they say God knew best,
Hmm.
and I'm like, oh, that just does something to me when I see something like that. Um, Regardless of if your parent is older or or whoever it could be, when it comes to the loss of someone, that just doesn't sit well with me for someone to say God knew best. That's not comforting. So even just you choosing the right words to say, if saying something at all, like how do we emphasize being more sensitive. If you have a little children that lost their father, their mother, and God, I mean, that just, yeah, it's like it just doesn't sit well. It's like people sometimes feel like they have to say something, and
Mhm.
I think that my condolences,
Mhm.
it works just fine. But even when I see that, I'm
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, we may not be at that place where you view it like that, and we can't, police people on what to say, what not to say, but don't say that. I would say that that's not comforting. I
Mhm.
don't think that's comforting when someone is feeling the pain of loss and you say, God knew best. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
okay,
And I hear that, and you're right. People do try to encourage. Because my thought process, I will be honest, a lot of statements that were made to me, it did evoke a lot of anger.
mm,
But learning and going through this process, we're not taught, well, tradition. I know I was not taught, or culturally, whatever the case may be, taught to grieve.
yeah,
Like that's not something that is readily taught, to my knowledge, how to grieve. And so people want you to feel better immediately. No one wants to see anyone hurting. And so especially if we're in close relationship together, I don't know what to say.
yeah,
Sometimes silence is the best thing, but because I want so desperately, so badly for you to be okay, for you not to be hurting like this, because I can see the hurt, then
yeah,
I'm saying maybe traditional things, maybe things that were said to me. I'm saying anything that can come to mind, that could possibly help you feel better.
right,
And in the moment, I may not be thinking, because my only thought process is, how can I make you feel better? And so, like you said, I know that they weren't doing it, in a malicious way. I
right,
think it's just the desire, the strong desire for someone to feel better from what they're dealing with. So I'll just say anything. I don't know what to say.
right,
So the most comforting thing that I can think of that relates to what you're dealing with is what I'll say.
yeah.
So
Sometimes that's like compounded hurt. It's like, okay,
yes,
I'm already hurt. Shut up.
yes,
Now you get, I'm already may have some thoughts about, you know, God in this moment, and then for you to say, God, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm
yes.
trying to just keep my heart in the right place
Mhm.
concerning my relationship with the Lord, and then you come and, say something like that. And I've heard and I've seen other people post about that too, things that you should not say to someone. So I don't think it's just me who
Yeah. No,
felt
not at all.
or feels that way, yeah, about um,
Not at all. Because
things. So silence sometimes is a good thing because sometimes even when people are talking about it, and it's like it can provoke an emotion
yeah,
too. So it's like, do you want me to talk about it or don't you want me to talk about it? It's like, help, Lord. I'm still, in the healing process. Because some people I've observed can have lightheaded conversations about memories, and sometimes I would try to like force myself, to look at pictures, and because
mhm,
that's what people do, and I'm like, but it still hurts. Like I don't know if I can handle looking at a picture. I'm
yeah.
just trying to hurry up and expedite the healing process, but that was
I,
just not
I think
working.
I
Yeah,
think also sometimes I say for me, I've looked at television shows to give me a gauge on how you grieve. I know that's ridiculous, but when
I
you're
do want to.
desperate
I
to
want
try,
to push me.
when you're desperate and you're hurting, so looking at different television shows and I would say remembering different television shows, and you're supposed to do this or maybe this help in reference to you looking at photos.
Yeah,
It was a long time I was not ready to look at photos.
right.
I recently put up a photo in my house, and when I
Really?
walk past and I see it, it's almost like a shock, uh,
Okay.
because that wasn't something that I could do. But other people in their journey, they can look at photos and it's comforting for them. But for
Right.
me, it wasn't. And that's why I say it's so unique to each individual, because where I may not be able to do certain things immediately, others, they're able to do that right away. And
Right.
I know I've thought like, how, how can you do that?
Yeah.
And so I think it's again unique to each of us, but
Hmm.
also in relation to what we're saying to one another when there is a loss in the silence, going back to that sensitive part and being able to be sensitive to the person that you're dealing with, being sensitive enough to know now it's time to be silent,
Right.
being sensitive enough to know now I have to speak. So I think it just goes back to being sensitive to individuals, and that sensitivity will sometimes tell us to be silent and not say it's for the best.
Right.
Because,
Lord have mercy.
yes,
Yeah. That
yes,
that
yes, yes.
yeah.
I'm not a fan of that one.
Ooh, yeah, that's heavy. Heavy.
Mhm.
This
Very.
seems like, especially with the pandemic, just coming out of a pandemic, it seems like this is a subject matter. I mean, we need to talk about it, keep it
Oh,
before us,
absolutely.
because this is a part of life. Like you said, grief and the loss of jobs and finances. It just it covers a vast array of areas. But this is something we need to be educated,
Yeah,
on, when we're having to go through it ourselves, or when we're having to speak to someone who's going through it, or minister or counsel, or just be there for
hmm,
someone. But there was a point of still some of
hmm,
my father's friends would want to talk about him, and I would listen, but I would just be like, no.
hmm,
Like, Lord have mercy. It's not like it used to be,
hmm.
but it's like, okay, yeah, the reality is the reality, and
Yeah.
yeah, we do have to talk about how he was versus how he is,
Hmm.
and I can't escape it. I
Yeah.
have to face it head on with the strength of the Lord, which
Hmm.
is what I am endeavoring to do.
Hmm.
Because of the technical glitches, I can't see if there are any questions, or if anybody had any questions or comments, or if you have anything later on you want to direct message Raza, or you can send it to me and then I can forward it to her. I don't want to bombard her inboxes with anything, but if you feel like it's private and you don't want to share it with me, feel free to communicate with her
Hmm.
directly. So, Rosalind, if there's anything in closing, we are at our 30 minutes
Hmm.
mark. Thank you for those that have joined us tonight and those that will catch the replay. I feel like this is one of the most transparent lives that I have been on when it comes to this subject matter of grief. And I was like, I'm just gonna sit back here and be quiet and just listen, take my own notes. But it's really good in helping with the healing journey that I am on, and I know that both of us are on, and most of us are on or have been on.
Hmm.
So is there anything you would like to leave us with as we close out the session for tonight, our final discussion for the month of November on mental health and wellness?
Yes, there is. And I'm going to try to speak without emotion. We made it 5 weeks with
I know. Yes. Thank
sharing.
you, Lord.
But I really would like to encourage others. And like I said at the beginning of this live, the very first one we did, this is knowledge that I've obtained from my own journey, as well as reading and understanding. But I really want to encourage people that are going through a loss, people that have dealt with the loss years later, immediate, no matter where you are in that lost journey.
Mm-hmm.
I just would like to encourage them to be patient. And I know I said this last week, but I think it's very important.
Hmm.
We put ourselves on time limits. We put ourselves on time frames. We have to do this. We got to keep it moving. That is the society that we do live in. But I believe it is very important for us to be able to take time with ourselves and to be patient with ourselves, because what are we rushing to?
Mm-hmm.
What are we rushing to be done with the grief? Absolutely, but at the end of that, then what? I think we need to just be patient with ourselves, to allow ourselves to grieve, allow ourselves to have those moments. I'm quoting my therapist.
Okay.
Allow us to have those moments, allow ourselves to cry and experience. Just sit in that moment,
Yeah.
and then you can get up.
Yeah.
But I think, I again, just encouraging people to really, really, really be patient with themselves, to
Mm.
know that it's okay wherever you are. You don't have to rush. Please, please, please don't compare yourself to anybody else's grief journey. They are all different. Even if it was the exact same, we are still unique individuals. And
Yeah.
so, how I deal with it, process what I perceive and understand will be completely different than you. And so, it is so, so important. The comparison doesn't work. You know, just really, really be patient with yourself and find out what's your form, what's your coping skill.
Mm.
What is it that can help you get up every day? What is it? What is it that blesses you, that encourages you, that strengthens you? All those things, whatever they are, I think we need to lean into them and to continue to do it, to continue to do it every day. I
Mm.
think after I got up and started going, the one thing that I reminded myself every day, just keep going.
Yeah.
No matter what today looks like, just keep going. And that's what I would like to share. Just keep going. Keep
Well,
going, hurting, afraid, keep going. And on the other side, you'll get there.
amen.
I just would like to end with that.
So good. Oh my goodness. So so good. That was so. I just want to clap. Like that's so good. So so good. So so good. And this conversation, um, or subject matter needs to be talked about. I think on a regular basis, and perhaps Roz will pop up and give us some words of encouragement on the social media streets. It's definitely needed because even and I know I said we were coming to a close, but I had this thought as she was talking. Ask the person who's grieving, is it okay for us to talk about the person you may have lost or what you may have lost? I think instead of just jumping right into the conversation, because you talked about being sensitive. So, and that's not something, like you said, I've ever experienced, but just being a sensitive person by the grace of the Lord,
Hmm.
and compassion, because I'm asking the Lord, to, humility and compassion, not trying to toot my own horn, but just being sensitive. I think it's okay to even ask them
Yeah, absolutely.
when you start talking, do you mind if we talk about the loss of, a child or a parent? And if
Hmm.
they say no or yes, go ahead and engage versus just talking about it. And maybe I don't know if I'm being overly sensitive or not, but I just wanted to share that when you were sharing your closing thoughts. Just ask them,
Hmm. I
just so
agree.
that they're ready for the conversation.
I agree. That's a good point.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. That's a good point. Yeah.
So,
Thank you for having me on. I really, really enjoyed these conversations. So I do appreciate this time together. So thank you.
yes, and thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining us, social media family, and to be continued. This
We
discussion. You may not
continue.
see me all the time, but prayerfully you'll see my precious sister and friend, as frequently as her schedule will allow her to pop on here and share. But I definitely will bring her back on this platform as
Mm.
well. I'm so excited. No, about just the knowledge and just the compassion that she embodies as well. So, without further ado, we are going to bring this to a close. Thank you so much again, social media family, for tuning in. And for those that will catch the replay, I always pray that something is said that will bless you, encourage you, inspire you, and do us a favor, like, love, and share it with someone that you feel will benefit greatly from what was shared on tonight. And until we see you again, enjoy the rest of your day and continue eating that holiday food. Well,
Yes.
it's thrown out now. I think it's time to throw it out. So, baby, scratch that safe. All right, family. Well, have a good evening, and we will see you on next time.
Thank you.
and say thanks.